Hello everyone, it's me Sarah. Welcome to my channel, A Curious Cuttlefish. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to make a little mini pumpkin. Welcome to today's tutorial. We will be making this miniature pumpkin. It's a fairly simple pattern. So all you will need is a 5mm crochet hook, I believe this is a 5 weight, let me check. This is a 5 bulky yarn. I love this chunky from Hobby Lobby, and the colorway of this one is Spice. Any 5 weight chunky yarn would work. You can also use worsted weight yarn with a 3.75mm hook or a 4mm hook. Your pumpkin would just be smaller than this one because it is a lighter weight yarn. But those are both options. You will also need some fiber fill, yarn needle for sewing this together, and some brown yarn. I used worsted weight yarn for the stem of my pumpkin. You can use whatever scrap yarn you have on hand. It really doesn't take that much, and you can make your stem as long or short as you like. So with that said, let's go to my setup with the camera so I can show you guys how to make this pumpkin. So the materials that you're going to need for today's tutorial is a hook, and it should be proportionate to the yarn that you're using. I'm going to be doing this out of a chunky yarn. This is I Love This Chunky from Hobby Lobby. It is a 5 bulky weight yarn, and I am going to be using a 5mm hook with our bulky yarn. If you wanted to use a worsted weight yarn, I suggest you use a 4mm hook or a 3.75mm hook to make this pattern. So let's get started. We are going to start with a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 2. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working all of our first stitches into this first chain. So I am going to actually zoom in a little bit, so hopefully we can get a better idea of what this will look like. Okay, so this whole pumpkin is going to be out of single crochets. We are going to start by doing 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, and all of these are all into the same space. 3, 4, 5, 6. And I like to crochet over the tail that we have right here, simply because I'm not one to weave in ends, and it's just easier if I crochet over it, so then it becomes a part of the piece. So up to you what you would like to do. I am going to suggest that you get a stitch marker because I work this pumpkin in continuous rounds. I don't do a slip stitch into the first stitch. So let me go grab a stitch marker, and I'm going to put that into that first stitch, and I'll show you how to move it up along for each row. Okay, so I just have a basic stitch marker right here. I am going to be putting this into so this is our first stitch. If you want to count and make sure you have 6, I'm going to take my hook out and count right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this stitch right here is our first stitch. Now for our round 2, row 2, we're going to be working 2 single crochets into each stitch. So again, I am working over the tail. You don't have to do this. You can weave your tail in at the end. I just like to work over it. So I'm going to do my first stitch into our first single crochet from the previous round. So there's my first one. I am then going to put our stitch marker right in there into the first stitch so that I know where I started this round. I am now going to work a second single crochet into that same space. So now I have 2 stitches. This is starting our second round, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around, which means we should end up with a total of 12 single crochets around. Okay, so there's our round 2. This is where my stitch marker is to tell us that we are at the end of round 2. So now for round 3, this is like your basic increase for making any circular shape. Row 3, we are going to do a single crochet, and then in the next stitch 2 single crochets, single crochet, 2 single crochets, and that's how we're going to do row 3. So I'm going to open up my stitch marker, take it out of that first stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet. So this is the first stitch of this third round. I want to move my stitch marker right up into that stitch. So there we are, that's the first one. And now this next one we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2. And we're going to continue in this pattern of 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets all the way around. So at the end of this row, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Okay, so I just finished. There's row 3. We're going to do another increase round. So now we're going to do a single crochet into this first stitch. So let me open up our stitch marker. We're going to do 2 single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and then 2 single crochets. Single crochet, 2 single crochets, and that's how we're going to do row 4. So this is our first stitch. Remember, we want to move that stitch marker with it so that we know where to stop. So that's our first single crochet. Here's our second single crochet, and now we're going to work 2. So you can pause the video here, and that's how you're going to complete round 4. And I'm just going to follow that pattern all the way around. Single crochet, 2 single crochets. And then I'll come back once I've reached my stitch marker. Okay, so we're back here right where our stitch marker is. We just completed row 4. So now let's start on row 5. So I'm going to open up my stitch marker, take it out, and this is another increase row, and you'll notice a pattern here. So we're going to do a single crochet. That's our first stitch. Move our stitch marker up. So that's 1 single crochet, another single crochet, and another single crochet. So that's 3 individual single crochets. And now in this one, we're going to do 2 single crochets. So this is how we increase for our rounds. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3 of just one single crochet, and then in the fourth we're going to do 2 single crochets, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around for this round, and I'll come back once we're back at our stitch marker. Okay, so we're back here at our stitch marker. We just completed row 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a whole round of just single crochet. 1 single crochet in each stitch, and this is what's going to start forming that round shape for our pumpkin. So let's work a single crochet into this first stitch, and now let's move our stitch marker. Okay, and I'm just going to work a single crochet all the way around until I reach this stitch marker, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the next row. Okay, so we just finished our row of single crochets. So we're back here. Here's our stitch marker. That's the first stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to do another row of increases. So let's see, our last row we did 3 that had a single crochet and then 2. So this time we're going to do 4. So there's 1. Again, we need to move our stitch marker up. That's the first stitch. So that's our first single crochet. There's our second, third, and fourth. So now we're going to do 2 single crochets into this stitch. 1, 2. So we're going to continue this pattern all the way around. We're going to do 4 stitches of 1 single crochet, and then in the 5th one we're going to do 2 single crochets, and you just repeat that pattern all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker right here. So you can pause it, work on that, and then I'll join you once I reach this stitch marker. Okay, so we just finished our row of increases. We are back here at our little stitch marker. So for this next row, we are going to do a row of just single crochet all the way around. So just like previous row, it's just a single crochet in each stitch. And I should probably take my stitch marker out before I work into this stitch. Okay, single crochet. This one's my first stitch. And then a single crochet in each stitch around. So that's this row. You can pause it, and then I'll meet you when I'm back at my stitch marker. Okay, we are back here at our stitch marker, so now we have another row of increases. So let me take out the stitch marker. So for this one, remember the previous row, not this one that we just completed, we did 4 single crochet and then our increase. So this one we're going to do 5 single crochet in each, and then an increase, which is 2 single crochets into the same one. So let's start off. There's 1, moving our stitch marker. So that's 1. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and now we're going to do an increase in this one, which is 2 and the same. And then we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around until we reach our stitch marker again of 5 and then an increase. So I'll meet you back at the stitch marker. So we just finished our increase row, and I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. We are going to be doing an entire row of single crochet in each stitch. So let's take out the stitch marker, and we're going to be doing a single crochet in each stitch around. So you guys can pause the video again and just do a whole row of single crochet in each stitch, and I will join you again when I get back to this stitch marker. We're back at our stitch marker. Okay, so now this is another increase row. So we're going to be doing 6 of single crochet and then an increase. So there's 1. Remember always in that first one to place your stitch marker. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to increase, which is 2 in 1 stitch. And that's what we're going to be doing for this whole row. 6 and then an increase. So do that all the way around until we reach our stitch marker. We are almost halfway done with this, and I'll join you once we're back at that stitch marker. Okay, so we are now at just about the halfway point of this little pumpkin. We're making a small one, remember? And so what we're going to do, we're done with our increases. So we are going to be doing 3 rounds of single crochet. So you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch. Remember to move up your stitch marker with your first stitch. We will be doing 3 rounds of that. And after that, we're going to start our decreases. So there's my first stitch. Again, we are moving up our stitch marker. And I'm just going to single crochet all the way around. And once I get to the stitch marker, that would be 1. And you have to do that 3 times. So do 3 rounds of just single crochet, and then I will come back and show you guys how we start our decreases. So you can pause the video here, and I will see you once I have completed my 3 rounds of single crochet. Okay, so here I have just finished my 3 rounds of single crochet. So we are going to start our decrease rounds. So for this round, we are going to be doing 6 single crochets and then a decrease. So let me show you guys what that looks like. So we're going to do 6, so there's 1. I need to put my stitch marker in this first one. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now how we do a decrease stitch is we're going to insert our hook into one, pull up a loop. We're going to go into our following stitch, pull up a loop, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So that is a single crochet decrease. So it's like putting 1 stitch over 2. So let me do that one more time so you can get the hang of it. We're going to do 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a decrease. So there's our decrease. So follow that pattern all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker, and I will join you guys and we'll continue on from there. So that last stitch right before our marker should have been a decrease. So here we are back at our marker. We are going to do, this is basically the opposite of what we've done for our pumpkin up until this point. So that center of the 3 rows of just single crochet, we are now going and doing the opposite from here. So we're going to do a whole row of just single crochet, and then in our following round it's going to be a decrease round. So let's do our row of single crochet and I'll come back and show you guys how to do the next decrease round. But this round is just single crochet. By now you should know in that first stitch, remember to move up your stitch marker to the first stitch that you just made, and I'll join you once I am back at the stitch marker. Okay, so just finished our row of just single crochet. Let's start our next row. So we're going to be doing, we did 6 in the one before, so it's going to be 5 single crochets and then a decrease, and that's the repeat for this row. So there's our first one. Make sure that this is all marked in there. So there's 1, 2, oops, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to do our decrease, and this is the pattern for this round. We're going to single crochet or do 5 single crochets and then do a decrease. So follow that pattern all the way around. We should end with a decrease in these 2 right here, right before our stitch marker, and then I'll join you again. Okay, here we are, just like before. So we just had our decrease. Now this is going to be a whole round of just single crochets, and then the following round will be a decrease round. So let's do our round of single crochets and then I'll join you again for the decrease. Just finished our row of single crochets, so now this is a decrease round. We're going to be doing 4 and then our decrease. So here's that first one. Sorry for my phone in the background, you guys. So that's 1, and let's do 3 more. 2, 3, 4, and then we're doing a decrease. So you're going to do 4 single crochets and then a decrease, and you're just going to repeat that pattern all the way around till we get back to our stitch marker. So we just finished with our decrease. So now this row is going to be entirely single crochet all the way around. So remember to move up your stitch marker. We're going to do a full round of single crochet, and you can pause it right here and then I'll join you again when I'm back at my stitch marker and we'll start the next row. So you should be noticing that you're now getting that shape that we would like for a pumpkin if you haven't noticed already. So we just finished our row of single crochets. We're going to do another decrease row. So we had ones where it was 4 and then decrease, so now we're going to do 3 and then a decrease. So let's get that started. Single crochet 1. Sorry that I'm moving around so much. So that was 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do a decrease. So again, we're going to do 3 and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. We're going to continue this all the way around till we get back to this stitch marker right here, and I will join you guys once we're there. We're back here at our stitch marker, and now we're not doing a row of single crochet, we're just going to continue with our decreases. So this next row is going to be a decrease row and the rest will be decreases. So we just finished doing 3 and then a decrease, so this one's just going to be 2 and then a decrease. So there's the first stitch, 1, 2, and then we're going to do a decrease. And you're going to repeat that around. Do 2, and then a decrease. So continue this till we reach our stitch marker, and then we're going to be at the point where we're going to need to stuff our pumpkin. So we just finished this row. We have our decrease. I am going to pull my hook out, and so this is about the size hole you should have if you're working with a chunky yarn. This is the time now where you're going to want to add some polyfill, fiberfill into your pumpkin. So you should grab whatever type of fiber you have, polyfill, fiberfill, and we're just going to fill this up until it holds its form fairly well. And you can pack this as loosely or full as you would like. I would recommend not packing it very full to the point where you can't even squish the pumpkin, because we need it to have some give in order for it to get its shape once we add in the ridges, which you will see in a bit. So go ahead, add your fiber in, and then I'm gonna zoom in again so that we can finish off this top part of our pumpkin. So fill up what you would like inside there, and we will come back when I am doing this next row. Okay, so we just need to continue so that we can close up the top of this pumpkin. So we are going to be doing a single crochet and then a decrease. But let me put my stitch marker in. So single crochet, and then we're going to do a decrease. And we're just going to follow that pattern all the way around the top here of single crochet and then decrease. So I'm just going to do this here with you guys because this is a very short row, and so is the next one. So okay, so there's our decrease. We are back to our stitch marker, and I have fiber falling out. So now this row is entirely decreases. So we're just going to decrease in each stitch, or yeah, decrease all the way around. So there's a decrease. We're going to decrease in each stitch. Oh my goodness, sorry about my phone. So we'll continue this decrease all the way around. Now, this is where we want to be. This is how we're going to, in essence, end it. So I am going to leave quite a bit of tail. I would say, let's see if I can zoom out a bit. Okay, so if you can see here, I am leaving quite a bit of tail on this, I'm going to snip it right here. Because what I'm going to use this for is I'm going to use this not only to sew this part closed, I'm going to take our stitch marker out, but I'm also going to use it to shape our pumpkin. And then it's the excess is also going to be used to sew on the top that we're going to make separately here. So you're going to need a yarn needle, or if you're, I just pulled that thread through here to make a little knot to secure our work. I am going to go grab a yarn needle and I'm going to show you guys how we are going to close up this pumpkin. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see better how I sew this top part together, and then zoom out to show you how we form the body of this pumpkin, and then we'll move on to making the stem. Okay, so I have a yarn needle right here. I am just going to thread it onto our yarn, and okay, so I suggest going around and grabbing this outside loop only. We don't want to get the inside loop at all, but we're just gonna go around with our yarn, just grabbing that outer loop and go from the outside in, and we're just gonna sew around using this, only one loop. And when we pull this tight, this should cinch up that hole right here at the top. Okay, this is the last one. So now pulling that tight, there we go, it closed it right up. What I do now is I'm going to insert my needle right here into the center, and I want to push it through all the way to the bottom and get it right in the center here at the bottom, and we're going to pull this through. And so what this is doing, this is pulling down the top of our pumpkin. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. This is pulling out the top of our pumpkin so that we get this nice shape. So you want to pull that tight. We're going to go around the side and we're going to go back through that center. Stick our needle through, make sure it goes through the center again. Just like that. You want to pull your yarn through, and then you're going to pull this tight, and this is what's giving us the shape right here of our pumpkin. So you want to repeat this. This is one ridge. We are going to have a total of 5 ridges around, which will give us 6 little segments of our pumpkin. So I'm going to go, that's the first one. I'm going to go push it again through to get my second one. I need to make sure that I get it right through to the center. Pulling that through. So just like that, you see how we get this nice shape going. And I'm just going to continue around. I might even do 6 ridges through. You can do however many or few you like. But this is how I get the shape for my pumpkin. So continue doing this, get the side as many ridges as you would like, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to work on the stem that we're going to get to sew up at the top. So I'll join you again when I have my brown yarn. Real quickly, I wanted to show you how I secure off the pumpkin before I show you the stem. So I'll usually go through 1 or 2 of these sides, and I'm just gonna make small knots all the way around, just so that it stays tight, it stays secure, it keeps everything more together. Then as you do this, you can decide which side you like more for the top and bottom of your pumpkin. I usually use the side with the deeper set for the top, so this will be my bottom. And if that's going to be my top, I remember you want your yarn to be coming out of the top of your pumpkin, because we're going to be sewing, we're using this long tail to sew on our stem. So I'm just going to pull this through so that now it'll be at the top of my pumpkin, and I'm just going to leave the yarn and the needle here, and we're going to make a fast little stem with, if you want to add a vine to it, you can. I'm just doing a stem for this one, and we'll sew it on and our pumpkin will be done. So let's go grab some brown yarn. Okay, so now having our stem color, I am making a slip knot. I am actually using a worsted weight yarn for my stem color and not a chunky yarn, because this is what I have on hand. So we are going to chain 2, oops, 1, 2, and now we're going to work 4 single crochets into that first chain. So we're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, this is all into the same chain stitch, 3, 4. Okay, so here we have that, and this was, we can count back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are going to be doing 2 stitches into each of these stitches. Remember, I like to just work over the tail so I don't have an end to weave in, so this is just how I do it. You do not have to do it this way. So there's 2 and 2 each. 1, 2, 1, 2, and finally 2 into this last one. So now you should have 8 stitches. 1, 2. So there should be 8 stitches here, and all you're going to do is you're going to do single crochet around until it is a little bit shorter than how long you would like your stem for your pumpkin. So I'm going to probably do about 4 or 5 times around, just single crochet, and I'm going to bring you guys back right before I tie this off and show you guys how I have it flare out at the bottom a little bit more. So go to just a little bit less than how long you would like your stem, and then I'll join you back here. Okay, so here is the length of my stem currently. I am just going to go around and do single crochet and an increase, so 2 single crochets, oops, 1, 2, single crochet, increase, which would be 2, 1, 2, single crochet, increase, and the last one, single crochet, increase. And now this has it so that our stem will flare out a little bit at the bottom for when we sew it onto our pumpkin. And now you can stuff this with a little bit of fiberfill. I don't, because I like it to be able to get flat a bit. So that is entirely up to you. I am just gonna cut my yarn here, pull it through this loop like that, and then I usually pull this tail through the following stitch, so because we worked in continuous rounds, it makes it a bit more even. And now we're going to sew this onto the top of our pumpkin. So let me go grab the pumpkin and okay, so we finished the top of our pumpkin. I have right here my yarn coming out of the top. So I am going to be sewing from the top down into my stem. Oops. And then attaching it. And we're just going to go around. And sew on the stem. So a little knot there. There we go. So really, this is all you need to do. You just need to go around your whole pumpkin and sew the stem on. And once you are done sewing on your stem, you can just weave your end into your pumpkin and your little project will be done. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish sewing mine in. And alright, welcome back. So we have completed our pumpkin. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. I had a lot of fun making it. If you are curious about a written pattern for this pumpkin, I have not typed it up yet. Hopefully by the end of this week I will have made time to sit down and type up this pattern and put it into my Etsy shop if you are interested in the written pattern as opposed to this video tutorial. So my goal is to be writing patterns or typing up patterns that I have the prototypes of this week, and then hopefully getting them into PDF versions for my shop. Anyways, thanks for joining me for this tutorial. I hope you guys had a good time watching it, and I will see you all tomorrow with a yarn dyeing adventure. Bye.